Welcome to the RMFJ podcast with your host, Rick Jones.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the RMFJ podcast. I'm Rick Jones, and today I have a special guest with me. And if you're on the video, you can see who it is already, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce him. I have Damon Huard with me. Damon is a football player. He played for Puyallup High School. Played for the University of Washington Huskies. Go Dogs.
Dogs.
Played 12 years as a quarterback in the NFL from teams from the Bengals, Dolphins, the Patriots, Kansas City Chiefs. Posting a 14-10 record as a starter, 27 touchdowns to less interceptions, which is good.
It's good.
Won 2 Super Bowl titles in 2004, 2005 with the Patriots.
0103, actually. Sorry.
I'm sorry?
2001 and 2003 with the Patriots.
Okay, Grock got that wrong. 01 and 03 with the Patriots. And also in 2000, you started a game for the Dolphins. You became the first pair of brothers with your brother Brock to start at quarterback for different teams in the same NFL weekend.
That is correct.
And
Before
you've been I'm sorry?
Before the Manning brothers.
Yeah,
the Pound brothers.
You know what? You blazed a trail for them. Did they thank you for that?
You taught them everything they know.
I like that.
Yeah, there's another set of brothers too I'm spacing on, but yeah, anyway. We were the first. Brock got hurt and got knocked out of the game, but we had the big upset win against Peyton Manning on the road in Indianapolis that weekend.
Nice. And Brock was knocked out of the game.
Yeah, they were playing down in Oakland against the Raiders, and he took a really bad hit, and he actually walked naked out to the bus after the game. Had to have some teammates bring him back after he left the shower because he got his eggs scrambled.
No.
Not good.
No. I mean,
we are much better today with concussion protocol in the NFL than they were 25 years ago.
Holy crap. I would say so.
Yeah.
How often do you remind him of that, by the way?
Not much. No. I don't like to bring that one up for sure.
Jeez.
I've heard the story from teammates at the time. Christian Fourier played for the Seahawks at the time with Brock, and then he later played with me in New England, and told me all about that. It's kind of funny, but kind of not, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's horrible. Well, I'm glad that everybody's okay now. I've met Brock a couple times.
He's great.
Great guy. Super nice guy.
Media darling. He's like you.
Real media darling. Yeah, I know. Looking at your resume and all these things you've done, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, is this the pinnacle of your career right now, being on this podcast? I mean, just, for laying it out there.
This is awesome. I mean, people still want to talk about me, even though I haven't taken a snap in 16 years. So I must be doing something right.
I do. You're doing a lot right because you know what? You're very notable. You had that big game in Miami. And please tell us about the game in Miami, University of Miami.
Yeah, let's go back to the glory days of 1994. The Dogs are going on the road to play the Miami Hurricanes, who had a 58-game home winning streak. They hadn't lost at home in over a decade. And the likes of Warren Sapp, Ray Lewis, The Rock were all on this awesome defense. And we were big underdogs. And we were actually losing, I think, 14-3 at halftime. But in the third quarter, we scored 21 points, 3 touchdowns in less than 4 minutes. It was crazy. It was a screen pass I threw to Richard Thomas. He took to the house. And then they fumbled like the ensuing kick. We recovered the ball, scored like a couple plays later. And then we had a pick 6. And literally it was just like after that, we kind of just ran the football. Napoleon Kaufman ran him out of the gym and really won the game going away like 38-22 or something like that. And we didn't need an airplane to fly back home 3,000 miles to Seattle. It was an awesome win. Certainly probably the biggest win of the Jim Lambright era to go down there and beat those Hurricanes. And the really cool thing was Dennis Erickson was the head coach of the Hurricanes at the time, a Washington native from Everett, same as Jim Lambright, our head coach at the time. So kind of some cool Washington ties down there in South Florida. But a huge win for the program. We've been coming off a couple of years of probation and kind of put us right back on the college football map, getting that big win down there.
Dang. Was that was that? I mean, that had to have been obviously a highlight of your college career, but was that the highlight of your college career?
Probably in a lot of ways because for 2 of my years I started, we couldn't go to a bowl game. We'd gotten in a little trouble with the NCAA and the conference at the time. It's kind of ridiculous what they accuse us of, especially today with the NCAA's rules or lack thereof. So, yeah. But for sure, regular season wins, it was right up there. I think even considered one of the top 10 wins in Husky football history to go on the road and beat those guys with all the success they had at that time. Big win, and certainly the biggest of my career as a dog.
Okay, backing up a little bit further, and we're doing this in the wrong order, and I don't care. You're the oldest of the Huard brothers, and you guys did remarkable things, and you're very well known, especially around the Pacific Northwest. But you're the oldest brother to come through and do it. You're the first one to break into that. What was that like coming out of high school and coming into college?
Yeah, my dad was our high school football coach. Friday night lights were everything for us. My parents were both teachers, and we grew up a couple blocks west of the Puyallup Fairgrounds, sixth largest county fair in America. And Friday night lights, like I said, like Sparks Stadium was 2 blocks from our house. It's kind of what we grew up with, all we knew. It's funny. My dad, it wasn't like he set out to make these Husky quarterbacks, NFL quarterbacks. It was just a big part of our life growing up. It's kind of funny all these years later, like, especially, as I was raising kids and friends of mine or people or whatever come up to my dad, hey, Coach Huard, at what age did, Damon, have the QB trainer and, was it all kind of set in, what did you do to get these boys to be NFL quarterbacks? He's like, I just married a 6-foot Dutch lady in the 70s when no one else would date her. So that was the first thing. So they're kind of funny with the old ball coach, Coach Huard, but we played all the sports, football, basketball, baseball, and just loved it. It's all we knew. I also loved to kind of tell the story, before like there was all this, club sports and AAU and all this stuff. It rains a lot in the wintertime, the spring here in the Northwest, as we know. Um, and back then, like the gym at the high school, it wasn't used for every sporting event you could ever imagine going forward other than Puyallup Viking basketball. So literally in the winter, on the weekends, maybe it was even after school, when the Vikings were done with practice, like we had the key to the gym. And so we would just go to the gym and we'd shoot hoops and we'd throw the football and we'd play wiffle ball. And so, yeah, that, was awesome. And then to be the oldest brother for sure, I'd love to think that I beat up on Brock and Luke, my younger brothers, and kind of showed them the ropes. And they certainly carried the torch when I had graduated from high school. And then Brock obviously followed me to UW. Luke did his own thing at North Carolina, but now is totally kicking ass as the offensive coordinator, quarterback coach at USC. So football is just in our blood. We grew up with it and just, had an awesome time. Didn't know anything else really growing up as kids in the Puyallup Valley.
But a lot of high school players. What set you apart? What do you think made it different for you?
Well, again, we were bigger. I was like 6'3", 6'4", 210 pounds in high school. And certainly at the time, these kids seem even larger today. I don't know what's in the food or in the water or whatever, but certainly having that size and then being fairly athletic and playing all the sports. And I think, right, the 10,000 hours, the muscle memory, it's what we did. Always competing. The brothers just beating up on each other. My poor mom. And then my dad might as well have been a big kid too, right? The old high school ball coach, driver's ed teacher. So it's what we knew, competition. My dad would, as little kids, bring home all the old extra pads and we'd put on helmets way too big and shoulder pads too big and beat each other up. And so, yeah, it was just, that was growing up a Huard and Puyallup.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I was with a buddy last night, Mike Schneider. His wife is Andy Schneider, who is the CEO of Horizon Air. Little plug in there. We used to work together, all of us. But he was telling me years ago, back in the 90s, he was at a concert. I think it was Chateau Saint Michel, Clint Black. And he said he was there at the concert. Before the concert was going, there were some kids throwing a football around. And one of them was just ripping it. And you couldn't believe it. It looked like it was just freaking, just like he had never seen a human throw a ball like that before. And he's like, what the hell's going on? Who's this kid? And they said, that's Damon Huard.
That's funny. I remember that concert. It was not Chateau Saint Michel. I think it was the
Okay.
Gorge
Oh,
over in
okay.
Eastern Washington, if I have it
Got it.
right. I think it was Clint Black and Winona Judd. And yeah,
Okay.
I would have been, I want to say maybe like a freshman in college or late high school years. But yeah, no, I think it might have been a freshman in college when the concert was over there, but for sure we would have brought a football and thrown it around, and certainly we looked like kids. As I was 18 years old, a freshman in college. That's cool.
And to be fair, he probably set the gorge. It probably wasn't Chateau Saint Michel, but we were a couple glasses of Bordeaux into the conversation at the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and speaking of Bordeaux, I'm going to get to your wine endeavors, but real quick. Okay, so going through college and then all of a sudden going into the pros, and what's that like? That's a different beast, right?
Yeah, it is, and really it was a pretty tough path to get there. To be honest with you, I was undrafted. I finished at UW in 1995. Was undrafted. I signed with the Bengals, who you mentioned, and I was just there for a training camp in '96. I got cut, so I was out of football all of the fall of '96. Pretty much thought my playing days were over. I got married that summer, moved back home, got a real job. Actually, had a really cool job with Paul Allen at Football Northwest before he bought the Seahawks. But then I got a phone call from the Dolphins in the spring of '97, and then I proceeded to fool them for 12 years after that opportunity. But yeah, it was tough getting cut and kind of not sure what you were going to do. But very fortunate to get that phone call in '97 and another opportunity to compete. And Jimmy Johnson was our coach in Miami, and I'd say forever grateful to him because he didn't care what round you were drafted in, how big you were, how fast you were. You either got the job done or you didn't. And he gave me a real fair opportunity to compete against a quarterback they had drafted, a late round draft pick, and I beat him out. And he wasn't afraid to cut a draft pick. He wasn't afraid to start a Zach Thomas at 5'9" at middle linebacker, who went on to be a Hall of Famer. Larry Izzo, a 16-year NFL vet, a 5'8" walk on from Rice, who went to 10 Pro Bowls as a special teamer. Like, I mean, Jimmy was awesome in that way. So forever grateful for that opportunity. Played 4 years down there in Miami, and then moved on to New England. I don't know how deep you want to go into all these
I
things.
want to go deep. Yeah, this
You
is
want to go
awesome.
deep. So yeah, had a really good run in Miami. Obviously backing up Dan Marino. 99 after my first couple years. Got a real good chance to play when he got nicked up, and went 5-1 as a starter, and kind of solidified myself as a guy who could come off the bench and help win football games. And really was hoping to be the guy in 2000 when Dan retired and Jimmy Johnson retired. Dave Wannstedt was hired as the head coach. He brought in his quarterback, and I really didn't win the job and was released after that season. So, but went to a pretty cool place in New England. 3 years there, '01, '02, '03. Arguably some of the most well-documented football teams and storylines in NFL history, as it was the birth of Tom Brady and the beginning of the Belichick-Brady 7 Super Bowl run. I was there for those first 2 Super Bowls, which was really, really super cool. I was signed really to back up Drew Bledsoe. Tom had never started an NFL game when they signed me. And after training camp, I can remember sitting with Belichick in his office, and him saying, hey, look, after camp here, we just feel like Brady has a little better feel of the offense than you. We're going to go with him as the 2 and you as the 3. Things could change, but that's the way we're going right now. And I always thought, God darn it, just think where you would be right now, Bill Belichick, if you'd have gotten it right after that training camp in 2001 and made me your second string quarterback. But it is what it is. But no, that was awesome. Certainly be a part of 2 Super Bowls, holding the clipboard, but being there for really a lot of NFL history. Very well documented, like I said. And I wouldn't have been able to tell you at the time that Bill Belichick was going to go down as the winningest, coach in NFL history, or Tom Brady as the GOAT. They were awesome. They were good. We won a Super Bowl, but so many things went into the making of that. We actually won so many of those games with our great defense, and obviously a lot of good fortune and luck along the way with the tuck and Adam Vinatieri's field goal through the snow. I mean, it was fate. It was destiny. Our quarterback coach died, Dick Rabine, neatest guy, in the middle of that training camp in 2021. And I like to think like he was, pulling some strings up there in the clouds, because so many things that happened that year that, it was just one of those magical seasons where everything came together and we found a way to win a world championship. Yeah, crazy, crazy experience. And then after 3 years in New England, I moved on to the Chiefs and kind of held the clipboard for a couple years there before my number got called. Another injury, Trent Green got hurt, and I had a chance to play. And in '06, I had my very best year as an NFL quarterback. started the better part of, I don't know, 10 games maybe, and had the second highest rated QB rating in the league, only behind Peyton Manning. So I had a good run, and again, kind of solidified myself. Like I said, had a great 12-year run, most of the time as a backup, but a couple really good years in there. 99, 06, 07 was okay as well. But yeah, some awesome times, awesome memories, awesome relationships. But it was a good run. It was a great run.
Yeah. What's Belichick like off camera? Is he like he is on camera? Is it the same thing?
Yeah, as I referenced to Dick's passing, one thing, that year, in the middle of training camp, it's not like you're going to just hire some new quarterback coach. So Bill Belichick and Charlie Weiss kind of shared the duties. Charlie was the OC at the time. So, Bill was in our meeting room for 2 or 3 hours every day and working very closely with the quarterbacks. And we did that for, I want to say, 2 of the 3 years I was there. He was really heavily involved. And I think that's really when Tom and Bill got close because of that dynamic. Most oftentimes, your head coach, a quarterback, it's obviously there's a relationship there, but certainly not as close when you're actually coaching the quarterback, which Bill was for the better part of those 2 of those 3 years. And, so I felt like I kind of got to know him too, being in that room, and certainly his style and his attention to detail and the way we would watch film and bust your chops. And I thought he was great. It was a challenging, a difficult working environment. I always felt like he made, as a backup quarterback, he made me feel as important to the team as Tom Brady. And he would challenge me. He would put me in situations in practice in preseason games that was very different than anywhere else I'd been in the league. But really, really made me feel a part of the team. And yeah, it was mostly business, as you can imagine. But certainly, I think what I really liked is he, from time to time, maybe a player would get released from the Dolphins, and he'd ask your opinion. Hey, Damon, what do you think of this guy? He just got released. You think he could help us here as a backup receiver or as an offensive lineman? Yeah, it was mostly work, but a really cool relationship. And then actually last year it was even super, super cool. I still have a role in football at the University of Washington, more on the admin side in the athletic department. But as you know, Steve Belichick, Husky fans out there would know, maybe not everybody. But Jed Fisher, head coach, hired Steve Belichick to be our defensive coordinator for the Huskies for the 2024 season. And Bill would come around the program quite a bit. In fact, we did an event together with a bunch of our alumni and donors. And so it was really awesome to kind of reconnect with him the 3 or 4 times this last year, talk glory days, old days, but also kind of have him behind the scenes with Husky football with his son. Now, obviously, they're at North Carolina together and have moved on. But yeah, really cool to reconnect with him all these years later and talk glory days a bit. And but yeah, so I definitely have an awesome relationship with Bill. But yeah, you're right. It is more business than anything. And certainly when you're playing for him, but kind of cool in a different light now all these years later.
Yeah. How about Drew Bledsoe and Tom Brady? You guys keep in touch?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, Drew Bledsoe, for sure. He's in the wine industry with me, and we make the outstanding Husky wine, and he tries to peddle this Cougar Swill. So, double back. But no, Drew and I probably do 5 or 6 events a year together and have so much fun with it. And so, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Drew and I played high school basketball against each other. I was a Husky, he was a Coug. We competed against each other as I was a Dolphin and he was a Patriot. And then we were teammates together that one year in 2001. When he got hurt, Brady replaced him. We won a Super Bowl. So we won a Super Bowl together. Obviously not his fondest memory, 2001 season, but we certainly had a lot of fun with our relationship. And certainly at that age, kind of just getting into wine, where now all these years later, it's, a big part of our lives and our profession. So yeah, Drew is a dear friend, a competitor, but more a dear old friend in this day and age, and we have a ton of fun with our wine projects. Brady, certainly kept keeping a little touch with him. He's a busy man, but obviously one of the greatest dudes on the planet. You could not ask for a better teammate. I mean, he is just one of the guys, and just, man, every last guy on this planet who's played with him would say the same thing. He had the Michael Jordan effect where he just made everybody around him better. And it was never about him. And even to this day, if you connect with him, it's, Damon, what are your kids doing? What's Julie doing? I want to know what you're doing. But no, it's never about him. And it's why he's the GOAT, and what made him so special, even beyond as a great player, but just a great teammate and great human being.
So to hear you call him the GOAT, you really believe that he was the greatest of all time at that position?
When you win 7 Super Bowls, there's really not an argument. And then you went and did it without your coach in Tampa Bay. Like, look, I mean, the stats, the numbers don't lie. I mean, Dan is not going to like me saying that. Okay, because I could argue that Dan is the greatest pure passer of all time, which is very, very true. But I think if any historian or anybody's going to get involved and would tell you that, that the Super Bowl thing, it's a big deal. And he did it in 2 places at an old age. I mean,
Yeah. And as a fan, obviously, it's what do I know? Watching it, like I would think, yeah, he is. And then some people say, oh, he's a systems guy or whatever because he's in Belichick's system. But then he went and did it in Tampa.
yeah.
And then to hear you, and I've heard other people say it too, but to hear you, an NFL vet, saying that, I mean, what does someone need to hear? I mean, that if it's coming from someone like you,
I mean, I don't know about that, but
I
like,
do.
I think just the fact that I played with him, right? I played, I was fortunate to play for 3 Super Bowl winning coaches: Jimmy Johnson, Bill Belichick, and Dick Vermeil, all guys, so I've seen it done at the highest level, the very best. I've played with Dan Marino, Tom Brady, you know, um, Drew Bledsoe, first pick in the NFL draft, a great player. Trent Green was a Pro Bowl guy, led the NFL in passing for a couple years in his time with the Chiefs. And I would make the argument that if he never got hurt in that preseason game, and Kurt Warner was a very good player, but all day long, Trent Green would have won Super Bowls in St. Louis. I mean, it's just how this game goes. That team was that good. Trent Green was that good of a quarterback, and then moved on to Kansas City and had a couple Pro Bowl years. And like I said, led the NFL in passing. So I've been around greatness. I like to think Tom and you could argue around the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks. So yeah, Tom's the man. There's no doubt about it.
And I want to ask you about Dan Marino. I'll get there in a second, but real quick, what's your favorite memory or memories of your NFL time?
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's really actually pretty easy. It's 1999, and we're in Foxborough up at New England. It's about week 5 or so, early October. And Dan had a little nerve problem in his neck going into the game, but he practiced and he was going to try to play. But I knew that there was a pretty good chance if he couldn't do it that I was going to get in the game. And I'd never really played any extended time in any meaningful games at that point. It's year 3 of my NFL career. So Dan goes in the game, and his first pass, he throws it right to Andy Katzenmoyer, and it's a pick 6, and we're down 7-0, and you can clearly see, like, there's no way Dan's going to be able to play. So Damon, you're up. So I go into the game, and my first pass is an out route straight to Ty Law for the other team for a pick 6. So we are down 14-0, literally less than 2 minutes into this game. And as I'm jogging off the field after that pick 6, I'm thinking, oh, jeez. Well, at least I got to play a couple of years in the league with Dan Marino. That was pretty cool. But anyway, Rick, I got to tell you, the game starts going on, and I can remember coming to the sideline after that pick 6, and Dan's like, hey, Damon, look, I know you haven't played a lot of ball here in the NFL, but you are not going to believe how many opportunities, like how many possessions we are going to have. And just try to be smart with the football, like, and you never know, like, how this thing's gonna go. Like, okay, yeah. So anyway, over the course of the game, I think we were down 17-0 at one point, but I'm scrambling around and I find Tony Martin behind the coverage for a 58-yard touchdown. So I throw my first NFL touchdown. I'm kind of fired up right now at this point. And Dan was right. We had a really good defense. And the score wasn't out of hand. Even though we were running the ball a lot, like the game's kind of going along. And then all of a sudden in the middle of this game, it just starts to slow down for me. I look across that defense at the Patriots at the time, and sitting there at nose tackle is a guy by the name of Chad Eaton. Chad Eaton was talking so much trash. Why? He was my arch rival at Rogers High School in Puyallup. He was my same year as me, arch rival at Washington State as a Coug when I was a Husky. And now here we are on the field, as professional athletes. He's there playing nose tackle for the Patriots. And then, okay, there's Chad. And I think, you know what? That's Lawyer Malloy playing safety. That was my college teammate at Washington. And then coming off the edge, I'm looking, dude, that's Willie McGinnis and Teddy Bruschi. I played against those guys like 5 times in college. I know all about these dudes. And then there's my boy Bledsoe playing quarterback for the Patriots. So, like, you know, there's still this in your mind, like, can I do this? I haven't played. But the game starts slowing down. And Rick, at the end of the game, we have the 2-minute drill to go down the field. And I'm scrambling, I'm scratching, I'm clawing. And I find Stanley Pritchett in the corner of the end zone for the game-winning touchdown. We beat the Patriots 31-30. I was sacked 9 times in this game. 9 times. But I also ran. I'm not a runner. I ran for 78 yards. So, you know what? It was like, okay, this is my first NFL game I've ever played in. It was just it was a crazy back and forth. And maybe the coolest thing that, like, now all this stuff's on YouTube, you can find this game. Someone sent me a link to it like a couple years ago. And literally, it's literally the Eminem song. Like, you only get one shot, do not miss this chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. Phil Simms is calling the game. And as I'm running out on the field, and my son who's a quarterback, so he's like, you know, this is Damon Huard's one opportunity. He wasn't drafted. He's along. No one really knows much about this guy. Jimmy kind of likes him. And Dan, we'll see what he's got today. This is his one opportunity for the Dolphins to go out there and do it. And we did. And, you know, walking off the field that day, flying home to my, like, it was like, oh my God, like, I can play in the NFL. And then the other cool thing, like, all these years later, as we know, who's been the head football coach of the Seattle Seahawks that took them to their Super Bowl win, who was just the guy, the face of the Seahawks the last 12 years, right? You know who that was?
Oh, yeah, Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll was the head coach of the Patriots that day. And every time I run into him around Seattle, big small town, Damon, dude, I hate you. When we knocked Marino out of the game, I got fired that year. You were part of that thing. Like, there was no way we were going to lose to you. I sacked you 9 times. So anyway, it's just kind of one of these games that, and it was my first game really playing in the NFL. So I had a few cool memories after that. I got to beat the Seahawks in Kansas City in 06. It was a huge win. And we didn't talk much about that year. I was out of football in 96, but I worked for Paul Allen and Burt Gold and Mike Flood and all these guys that ran the Seahawks organization for years. I was a little dude with a cubicle who worked for the Seahawks. And then literally like 10 years later, I'm playing against them and beat all those guys. So that was a cool one. But nothing better than that first time out there on the field with so many people you know, and you're kind of a long shot to make it. So yeah, kind of a long-winded story, but a pretty good one.
That's a great story. And I got to tell you, probably my favorite part of that story is just how you said that the game slowed down for you, that you were able to slow it down. And what a gift. That's a gift, because people go out in situations like that, like, holy crap, we're down by this. I gave the last pick, whatever. And to have the mental capacity and strength to get your brain around, hey, I know these guys. I know what they do. This is my job. I'm a pro. That's amazing.
It's a great glory day memory.
I mean, listen, who has that memory? Nobody. You. That's amazing.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still got that game ball. I think I have it over here somewhere. Oh, I do. Here we go. You want to see it?
Yeah, I want to see it.
Take it out here. Okay, here we go. Yeah, all these years later, still there. And how about this? Miller Lite, NFL Player of the Week, whatever.
But hold on, I'm getting a picture of that too. I got you right here. Look at that. Bam. Love that.
Sacked 9 times.
That's not written on there. That should be written on there somewhere too.
It's it almost makes the story even better. Be unheard of today. But yeah, that was October 17th, 1999.
Good Lord.
Really super cool memory. Glory days.
How amazing is that? That is such a cool thing. Okay. That's very cool. All right. And trying to
you want to just end the podcast right now? It's probably not going
to. I know. Better. That's it. We'll just do some fireworks and we'll yeah. So your son's playing for USC.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
You know, it's cool. It's a long story. And as we know, college athletics, I could talk for hours on NIL, conference realignment, transfer portal with my little role at UW, and then also all that he's been with. all that he's been through, I should say. But right now, it is super cool. He's not the starting quarterback at USC. Jaden Mayala is killing it. But, he was a local kid, played here in the state of Washington, was a really highly touted quarterback coming out of high school, and chose my alma mater, chose the University of Washington, and was actually there for 2 years. Michael Penix came along. This guy's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
By year 3 in the program, if you're kind of not playing much and you hadn't played at a big-time program, odds are they're going to bring in somebody else who's played a lot of football. So it made sense for him to transfer at that time, being that Mike Penix was coming back for his 6th year. So he did transfer. He transferred to Cal Poly. He basically followed his high school head football coach, where they had an awesome run, and they were going to run the same offense down there. And so this was in 2022, I believe. 23, sorry. And he got to play, started the whole season, missed a game, I think 2 games with an injury. But, threw for a bunch of yards, had a great time. The team wasn't real good, but always with the intention of getting back in the transfer portal and moving back up for the last couple years of his collegiate career. So after that year at Cal Poly, he signed with Utah last year, and it was not a good experience. And for any Ute fans out there, he got hurt. A couple other quarterbacks got hurt. It was a disaster of a season. But they hired a new offensive coordinator. He didn't really want to leave, but they hired a new offensive coordinator from New Mexico who brought his quarterback along with him and paid him $1 million. And they told Sam and the other 2 quarterbacks on the team, you guys should go somewhere else. So that's not the story really told out there a lot. It's mostly like these greedy kids that go in the portal, want more money. I mean, I can honestly tell you that 85, 90% of the kids at the University of Washington that went in the transfer portal last season after the season are basically told, like, hey, you're not a fit here. Your opportunity to play, slim to none. You should probably move on and go play. And now some kids like to hear that, but there's a few that maybe don't, maybe just want to be a part of it or think that they can prove the coach wrong. But a lot of kids are actually told to leave the program. So Sam was told to leave Utah, and at that point he had 2 years left of eligibility. Because he was injured, he got the season back. But with 2 years left, he wanted to stay in the big time. Had some opportunities at some smaller schools to potentially be the starter. Knew going into USC it might be a little tough to be the starter because Jaden was coming back, and they paid a lot of money to another 5-star kid coming there. But the big reason he went to USC, obviously the tradition, the history, arguably the best program on the West Coast after the University of Washington, would be my brother. My brother's his quarterback coach, is the offensive coordinator. Obviously, Lincoln Riley calls the plays. But Lincoln Riley has 5 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. He's had, I think, 3 of the last 8 Heisman Trophy winners, some crazy number. And it's just an amazing offense that actually is very similar to the one he ran in high school. So, and with 2 years of eligibility, why not go to a big-time program where you go be around some family? And then the other cool nugget is my oldest daughter, Holly, works alongside the athletic director, Jennifer Cohen, who was with me, I worked with for a decade at UW, who's the AD there at USC. Kind of weird, all these Huard Trojans with my daughter Holly, my son Sam, and my brother Luke. But it's a neat program, a great place. My son could get his master's there and still compete, and hopefully gets his number called at some point here over the next 2 years.
That's awesome. What a great experience. Yeah, that is awesome. And yeah, in the college time, I mean, that's got to be such a highlight, just a college time, playing and being a part of a team like that, and representing a school and having the backing. And obviously neighbors with one of your college teammates, Jason Chorak.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, what a dude, man.
He's a dude. He's rush edge defense. You know what? I've seen that guy. And then, throughout, my career, there's a reason they pay those rush edge guys so much money. They changed the game.
Yeah.
He sacked Sarkisian 3.5 times that game against BYU. I mean, you sack the quarterback 3.5 times, your odds of winning the game are important because that means it was a 3rd down stop, a change of possession. Jason was a freak of nature and just had that motor, just like that crazy motor. Just you can't be stopped. And he played with just such fire and with a great teammate, a great Husky, and I think it was an All-American if I have it right.
Yeah.
Jason was a stud.
Ring of Honor at the
Absolutely, in the Ring of Honor.
Husky Stadium.
Big picture of him outside the stadium. Pretty cool.
And he's still that way. I mean, he's mentioned before, like, if the things ever go to heck around here, he's like, come to my house.
Oh, yeah.
I got you.
You don't have to worry when you're around Jason. He'll take care of you.
It's great. So, yeah, so I met you through Jason, just very, very, very recently at a wine event, and you mentioned a story about Dan Marino when you were playing for the Dolphins, and your, I guess, basically beginning down the path of entering into the wine industry. But what happened there?
Yeah, I mean, I was just a young kid, a rookie, 3,000 miles away from home in my early 20s. And Dan he loved red wine. You know, he grew up in an Italian family in Pittsburgh. His uncle Chucky made a homemade wine. I think Dan was drinking wine with spaghetti when he was 12 years old. So it was just a part of his life. And one holiday, Dan was very gracious, had teammates over for the holiday, especially young guys. So I had Julie and I over, I think it was a Thanksgiving in 97. It's like, Damon, have you ever had this wine from Washington State where you come from? And I'm kind of like, they make wine in Washington? Like really? He's like, yeah, you ever had it? He's like, no, I drink cheap beer and rum and Coke. But let me try it. Let me try it. And I was like, oh man, this stuff's really good. And the bug just bit. Like I was just so fascinated that they were making these killer wines from, where I came from. And so over the course of time, we just kind of, hey, dude, like when you're done and retired and back home, like let's make a wine. Do you know anybody back in the industry? So I would come home in the off season, and I got to know a lot of the players in the Washington wine industry as I was collecting wines. And then I learned my family. My dad grew up in Prosser over in Eastern Washington, where the Horse Heaven Hills, which is arguably the most famous Cabernet appellation in the state. My great grandfather, Nelson Huard, he was a farmer. And there's a Huard Road right in the Prosser Valley, and he grew everything. He grew grapes, not wine grapes, but Concord grapes. But to this day, I source some Chardonnay from the Boucher vineyard. Literally, Dick Boucher drives down Huard Road to get to his vineyard. So kind of cool little ag story I really didn't know a lot about in my family's history. So yeah, so we were talked about when I'm done and back home, like, let's do this thing. So I was done in the NFL in 2009. It took me a couple of years to really kind of get things dialed in. First off, the winemaker, but it was great because I had some awesome connections to the vineyards there in the Horse Heaven Hills. Paul Shampoo played high school basketball against my dad. Not Pert Plus Shampoo, but CHAMPOUX. By far and away, the most famous Cabernet vineyard in the state. Cosita Creek actually owns it now. But Paul was great early on, helped us get set up with fruit and other farmers there in the Horse Heaven Hills. So when we started in 2012, all we were ever going to make was one Cabernet from the area my family's roots were. We made about 400 cases, and we were off and running. But it was such a success out the gate. By 2014, I got tired of people asking me, hey, is your winery in Walla Walla? And then we always put just a little bit of Red Mountain Merlot in our original Horse Heaven Hills cabs in 2012 and 13. And so I kind of figured out, like, people really are starting to identify Washington wines with place, and those places being Walla Walla and Red Mountain. So I thought, how cool would it be to make three cabs from the three appellations that do it best in Washington, the Horse Heaven Hills, and then Walla Walla and Red Mountain. And so that really, in a nutshell, is kind of our story. We've added a few other wines along the way, but Cabernet is what we've done at Passing Time. And now we're, 13 years into this thing, having a blast. But we've stayed really small and focused. We only make about between 2,000 and 2,500 cases a year is all. We sell about 80% of our wine direct to consumer, and we're also in a few awesome restaurants and shops here in Washington and South Florida. But we have club members all over the country. So it's really, really been a fun project to continue Danny and I's relationship all these years later, 3,000 miles apart. We do these killer events up at the winery every year. He comes to town for our big spring release event. We get 600 people through our doors over the course of one day. Like, it's nuts, but it's awesome. So yeah, this is kind of my baby. I'm the managing partner. Have a whole heck of a lot of fun with it. I found a second passion, which, for so many guys, it's tough. You're on top of the world as an NFL, as a professional athlete, and then it kind of abruptly ends for most of them, on average 3.5 years into it. So to find this cool passion with wine in a industry, especially in Washington State, where it's just kind of getting into its groove, they've been making wine all over the world, century, all that stuff. Here in Washington State, it's only 50 years old. In some of its ways, it's still in its infancy. And as our vineyards continue to mature, we just think we're going to make better and better wine. Price to score ratio, our wines are some of the best in the world. I hate tooting my own horn, but if I don't, nobody will. We're having a blast with it.
I will toot your horn because I drink a fair amount of wine. I should admit this, but I do. And passing time, I hadn't had it until the other day, and it was great.
Thank you.
It was great. It's not. I mean, I got invited to the event by Jason, and like, you want to go, Damon Huard? Like, yeah, we'll go. We were at Alderbrook. We had a uh, little day out at Alderbrook, and came back, and I it is not a novelty wine. It is a solid. It is a top shelf wine. And we tried your white, a couple. I think what, three or four of your reds, and hard to decide. And so we joined your wine club.
Thank you.
So we're, well, no, thank you, and joined your wine club, and yeah, it was excellent. It was wonderful, and it paired it with great food. But your, I mean, props to them, but your wine outshined the food. It was really good. It was really good. And so, anyways, I'm excited to have that. And so, how fun that you get to do that. And so you're the managing partner,
Yeah, this is my baby.
and then Dan Marino is also. How was he a part of it?
Oh,
The investor.
we're the owners. We have a couple
Got
of
it.
owners here in Seattle. So there's 4 owners. Actually 5, I should say. Jennifer Nance, has been our GM. She's my boots on the ground over in Eastern Washington. She she's been with me for over a decade, and she's family too now, and so we got a great little team. But we're making as little wine as we do. Most of the world, right? When you think of places, especially if you visit California or the old world, it's like chateau, vineyard, pick grapes, make wine. Here in Washington State, most of the wineries are actually over here in Western Washington. Woodinville's a big place we all congregate. That's where we are. They're close to the population. And all of these vineyards are out in the middle of nowhere in Eastern Washington for the most part. So we source fruit from 11 different vineyards, not just the one place every year we pick our fruit from and make our wine. So we think we can make more interesting wines. And then when you're as small as we are, and you're not like forced to have to use that fruit, like you can be like picky and have attention to detail. And we like spare no expense to try to make the very best blends and wines that we can. So yeah, I think the quality's there. And then we've been doing it long enough now, like we know what barrels work best with what vineyards, and we kind of know, yes, Mother Nature's different every year as far as the vintage, as far as how many grapes might yield or whatever, but we know when to pick them, and just all these decisions you learn over time with trial and error. So we really feel like we got this thing dialed. We're not in any we don't have this vision to like grow passing time to 100,000 cases. I always tell my friends, like, I don't think you're ever going to see a passing time airplane because we're Mondavi or something, but we're going to have so much fun along the way. And we're going to just make a killer kick-ass wine with the business model that we have, and have fun with it. So it's worked, and we stay lean and mean and just focus. All the focus and attention is on the fruit. And then these older established vineyards in the state of Washington, they want to work with us because they know, like, we're gonna do them right. We're gonna make their vineyard proud by doing all that we can to spare no expense and try to make Washington's next great Cabernet.
And you have your name, and you have Dan Marino's name, but you don't have your names on the bottle. Is that correct?
That is correct, Rick. And I would say, honestly, that was our biggest challenge out of the gate, right? Is this some vanity project? Are they trying to use Dan Marino's name to make a buck? And, it took a little while, right? Like, okay, what do these dumb jocks know about making wine? And now all these years later, I think I told this the other night at the winemaker dinner. I love telling this. Like, the coolest thing now is when people come up to you and they're like, passing time, and we have, the laces are they're embossed, but they're kind of subtle on the bottle, and obviously passing time, the name, quarterbacks, but also what we're doing when we're hanging out. But like, people will come up to me who know nothing about football, and they'll be like, "Oh, I really enjoy this passing time wine, but I'm curious, what are these things on the, are there 8 members? There's 8 laces on a football. Are these the markings of time?" It's like, no, it's actually kind of a subtle football reference. So anyway, it's cool. Like, it's gone way beyond the athlete thing, and we strategically did that. We didn't want to make this about Dan. And there's been some athletes and movie stars who, but to us, we wanted the story to be about the wine, and I think that's, all these years later, why it survived and why we've had the success we are having.
It stands on its own. So that's amazing. Yeah, that's super cool. Now, is there much of a competition with winemakers like yourself with like Napa, Sonoma, or is that even a thing? I mean, is that something? Do people get regional and like, oh, I don't, you know,
Yeah,
I'm I'm a Washington guy or I'm a Napa guy, or is it just like I like good cab and it doesn't matter where it's from?
sure, yeah. I don't think so. I mean, Napa obviously set the standard in this country of being. They've done an amazing job for a long time. It's fascinating, though, all the investment up here in Washington from a lot of those wineries, just because of the consistency that we have with our growing season up here in Washington. Also, we have very little disease, if any. The wildfires haven't been nearly as tragic as they have been in California. So there's been some movement up this way just because of the quality now coming out of Washington as our vineyards have become more and more established. But there's no doubt Napa set a standard. We're chasing them. I think price to score ratio, we're actually kicking their butt with our higher end wines and theirs, and the price point and the scores from the very biggest of publications, whether it's the Wine Advocate, Jeff Dunnick, the Enthusiast, Spectator. Like we are right there with them, and at a price point like I think if you show, you'll be like, shoot, I'm gonna get your wine's $110 and got 98 points, and this one's got 97 points and it's $350. Dude, let me try yours. So but back east it's tough, right? New York, Miami, Chicago, Washington State, might not be sure we even make wine. So, but I'll tell you, one of the coolest compliments I ever got was tasting with Jeb Dunnick. And if you don't know who Jeb Dunnick is, Jeb Dunnick worked for Robert Parker in the Wine Advocate for years, and he and did the Washington wines. And then he's since moved on and started his own publication. Maybe it's probably been 8-9 years now. He's been on his own. And he's arguably one of the greatest wine critics in our country, and takes wine all over the world. So when he gives us a 97 or a 98, like he's giving those same scores to Bordeaux, and they might be 92s, 93s, and he's tasting the wines from Italy. So our wines are getting scored compared to not just other Washington wines or California wines, but wines of the world. So Jeb Dunnick is real. But sitting down with Jeb Dunnick, and when you're tasting through your lineup with him, he never tips his car, like his hat or his car. Like you don't know if he likes it or loves it. But one year after tasting, he goes, Damon, the only disappointing thing with regards to your wines, and I'm like, shit, well, where's he going with this? Is no one in New York City is going to get to taste these. And I thought, dude, that's a really cool compliment. And to your point, Rick, as you said, like I'm from Washington. We support local. Washington loves Washingtons. And I would say 85% of our wine is sold to Washingtonians. And so, but I took that as a real compliment because, it's maybe they don't know about us. But is there competition? You know what the competition is? And I hate to say it, it is the score. I'm an athlete. I let everybody review and taste our wines, all the publications. When we get these scores, to me, like, yeah, that means something. A lot of people say, I don't want those scores. Well, I want to know. I want to know what you think. Sure. And so we give them all the publications. Yeah, if we beat Bledsoe by a point, I'm going to let them know.
Love it. But as well. Well, I asked that because I was in Italy. I usually have I love Valpolicellas. Love them. Love them, love them, love them. And obviously they're from the north of Italy, and I forget how regional Italy is. I just think the country of Italy, but it's very regional. I was over there I was in Palermo, Sicily. Long day flying. I was flying a contract trip, and long day flying. I get in there, I sit down at a little restaurant. I'm so excited for my wine, and of course it's Sicily, Palermo, which is also the home of the mafia. And they filmed The Godfather down there, so they're bred a little differently there. And I sit down, and I'm not really thinking. And they're like, "Would you like something to drink?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I love a bottle of Valpolicella." I might as well have punched him in the face. I said, "I'd like a Valpolicella." He goes, "What's wrong with Sicilian wines?" And I go, "That's what I meant. I meant Sicilian wine. I really wanted a Sicilian non-Valpolicella wine. That's what I meant." I'm like, holy crap. I was just like, yeah. The guy was like, they're regional. And it was hilarious. He brought me the wine. And he's like, "How was it?" And of course, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, best ever." I mean, it was good. It was good. I would have rather had a Valpolicella, but not from this dude. Yeah, it's so yeah.
That's awesome.
He learned me good. Yeah,
I would say here in Washington State, we're still in that like high tide rises all ships. You and I, we talk a bunch of trash, but we're so into this thing together and telling our story. Have done it around the country. Have done it in Bordeaux, telling our story on a boat. We've done some fun traveling together. I You won't find that in in Pierce County they're only drinking Passing Time by Puyallup where I'm from. And boy, if you're over in the Palouse, you better drink that double back or Walla Walla.
yeah.
Like we're all in this thing together trying to build the Washington, and our commission's done a great job with that. Yeah, you
That's
better be careful in the old world, man.
And so if someone wants to order your wine, it's what's is there a website they would go to?
Yeah, passingtime.com. Yeah, go check us
Singtime.com.
out. Our wine club's really different than a lot of them out there. Honest to God, it's just 3 bottles a year, 6 bottles a year, or a case a year. Charge you once a year. It's not some quarterly thing where, we're shipping you a bunch of wines, Sicilian wines you don't want. Oh, shoot.
Yeah, be careful, man. I got to go back there sometime.
Right, but or like some crazy Zin or some yeah, like we just basically it's our 3 cabs and you choose from what you want. If you love the Horse Heaven Hills cab, you want 3 of those a year, you're a part of our wine club, you get the discount. You'll also get information on some of the small batch other stuff we release over the course of the year. And you get all invited up to our cool events. We throw 4 big events a year up at the winery. They're a bunch of fun. And so I like to think our club members have a good time, and we're not just going to give you a little token to have a little taste. It's go deep or go home at Passing Time.
And your wife, Julie, designer.
Yeah, Julie's a big part of it too. She puts up with my nonsense, and we have a bunch of.
No, she was lovely. Her and Sophie hit it off, and yeah, I think she's gonna follow up with her on the designer stuff. And so
Oh,
that's
yeah, no, she
yeah.
she knows how to dress. If you have some problems with your closet, if you lack that closet confidence, as she says, go find yourself. Go connect with Julie, my wife. Julie's stylist. She'll get you squared away.
I love that. That's perfect. Okay, Damon, I need to ask you this, and I know we have the Mariner game coming up here in a
Oh man,
bit. But
I'm Julie.
so Damon Huard, all the stuff you've done, man, high school, great storied career, UW, big name around the Northwest, all these years in the NFL, being a part of Super Bowls, partnering with Dan Marino, you have this winery going, you have an amazing family, your wife, your kids. What is contentment for you? How do you define contentment?
I don't know if I'm ever content. I always, like it's the pursuit, it's the chase, it's the pursuit of happiness, right? Like there's no doubt when I'm out at Hood Canal and I'm sitting on my deck and I got all my family there and we're eating some Dungeness crab and I look around and I think, man, I am so blessed. I have had this Forrest Gump, some of my friends will call me life. But like I'm never just for me it's the chase. It's the pursuit of happiness. There's moments, but like I want to make the next best wine. I want to be a part of the next Husky, national championship in some small way with all the friends and supporters and the awesome little role I have there. Like maybe you can just tell from my mannerisms, right? Like, dude, like I can't sit still. So for me, man, it's the chase, it's the pursuit. Let's keep rolling. I'm never gonna stop till the good Lord tells, till that day. So I'm just gonna keep rolling, man.
Love that. A buddy of mine, Chris Griffin, a bandmate, and he has a Jam Academy music school up in Woodinville. Great guy. He talks about people being eagles or turkeys. And he likes to hang around eagles. And dude, you are definitely an eagle. You are someone who has big vision, big sights, a lot of drive, the personality for it. I mean, you're up, you're positive, you're rolling, you're pushing forward. I mean, successful in multiple fields. It's super cool. You are definitely an eagle, and it's fun to get to talk with you for a bit and
Thank you, Rick.
to
But
hear.
that's a wonderful compliment. I really
Yeah,
appreciate that. When I was
no, it's true.
younger, Dan, we'd been out having a good time after a big win or something. I was like, man, he's like, Damon, if you're gonna hoot with the Owls tonight, guess what? Tomorrow morning we're gonna get up and soar with the Eagles.
Interesting.
So, I kind of like the Eagle reference.
Yeah. No, dude, you're definitely an eagle. I love it. I love it. So what's next for you?
What's next, man? I'm pouring some wine. I'm getting on an airplane tomorrow to Michigan to go watch the dogs. Hopefully, get it done in the big house. I'm going to tune in about 45 minutes to my lifelong Mariner fan. Like, hopefully, these guys can win Game 3 tonight or and get to the World Series for the first time. I mean, can you imagine this town? So yeah, what's next is I'm just going to be a dad, a husband, pour some wine, watch some ball, and soar like an eagle, bro.
Love that. Love that. Okay, real quick. You know what? You just reminded me of something. I met one of the times I met Brock, your brother, was opening day of the Mariners years ago. Walking in, bump into him, we're talking for a minute, and he goes, "You excited about the Mariners? You excited? Whatever." I go, He goes, "What? You're not?" I'm like, "Look, I'm a homie, but it's tough for me because with these different payrolls, until the Mariners spend the money to keep butts in seats past August." I'm gonna go to games. I'm a homie. I'll watch them, but I'm not gonna invest my emotions in them until they're willing to invest that way.
Yeah,
And it's funny. That was probably the last time I ever even said that. That was to Brock. And here they did this year. They did that. They've come through, and you know what? I'm investing my emotions in them, and it's fun to watch,
oh
man.
my
It's
gosh.
really cool.
No, it's so good. Obviously, I always thought like, okay, we do have just some awesome pitching, and we play in a pitcher's park. And if we could just get to the playoffs, because at this point, man, it's all about pitching. But you're right. The difference is Nails at first base and Eugenio, like he kind of drives me nuts a little bit, our third baseman. But God, he might be the best third baseman in the league. And he's either going to strike out or he's going yard. And he's hit a bunch of bombs here, but you're right. We added some pieces this year that we had to help us win some of those games, and it is, man. This town is just on fire right now. And should they get to the World Series, and it's looking like if they do, they play the Dodgers. I mean, are you kidding me? How cool would this be?
So cool.
Yeah, man.
So cool. So go Amps. Well, Damon, thank you so much, brother. God bless you.
Thank
God
you,
bless
Nick.
your family.
Thank you, brother.
I
Thanks for having me.
appreciate your
A lot of fun
yeah.
going down memory lane.
So cool. Yeah, great chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time.
You got it, bro.
And everyone listening, please share this. Please follow, comment. I will answer comments. And Damon, I look forward to keeping in touch with you and enjoying more of your wine. And you have a great evening. And go Mariners.
Go M's. Cheers.